Good morning. This is Norma Cowie for our Wednesday Norma Talks. It's funny how life has many different twists and turns in it sometimes. And usually during the week, I'm given sort of a direction of what to talk on Wednesdays. Not always, but mostly. And this week it was fairly uncertain. I was thinking, what am I going to talk on Wednesday? Oh, well, let it go, let it go, let it go. And then yesterday, I did something I don't usually do. Someone phones, wants an appointment quite quickly. I did have time, so I slotted this person in. It's just not usually what I do. Anyway, during the reading per se, what I realized was something that had been brewing at the back of my mind was about procrastination. So today, we're talking about procrastination. And I pulled some tarot cards this morning, took a picture of a few that signifies to me what procrastination is about and why and how we do it. So I'm just going to put the picture up and then we'll take a look at that. Let's hope. There we go. So what have we got here is a higher arcana card, 3 attitude symbols, and 2 that kind of can fit in. So this is really what I want to talk about today is this: why and how do we procrastinate? What is that all about? So one of the things of these attitudes, I always see court cards, these 3 court cards here, as attitudes of life. And when we take a look at perhaps there's a couple of main ones that we see, but I'm going to start with the thinking because to me, the thinking is always behind everything. And I have to tell a story with this one because years ago when I was began reading and had my office in Surrey, British Columbia, part of a bookstore then called Mr. Became Phoenix Metaphysical Books anyway. And I worked there for about 6 years or so, wrote my first 2 books, tarot books there actually. Anyhow, I was dealing at that time, it seemed like quite a few businessmen were coming for readings. And I would see this particular symbol, this King of Wands. Well, to me, he had everything going for him. He has the vision. He's looking out at where he wants to go. Everything is very clear. Everything is there. But what I was finding, these guys, as they came back, weren't succeeding. They had all the thoughts, they had everything they wanted, but they weren't succeeding. And so what I would do is I would sit down and I would meditate on the card to find out how come these people are not succeeding. Excuse me. And what I found was they didn't move, they didn't make the move. They had all the thoughts, they had all the drive. Oh dear, here we go again. The early morning Norma's voice goes. And it was good a moment ago. Now, what I came up with is that when we look out at what we want to do and where we want to go, what we see is the what ifs, maybes, and the perhapses. Perhaps the most dangerous thinking pattern that we can have is what if, maybe, perhaps. The King of Wands is really, really large part of this. I wish I hadn't put this eight up here so close, but that's all right. That's one of these things in the morning when you're going on a route. Now, the same thing happens quite often with the Page of Pentacles. He's looking out at where he wants to go. And in a way, yes, the horse here within Knights are always, the horse is indicative of the action. But what we're seeing here is that he's not moving. He's sitting contemplating. He's sitting contemplating. He's looking at the field, which you can not see very well, that's plowed but needs seeding, needs action. So here we have 2 people who sit and look out but don't necessarily do the action. Now, again, when you're doing a reading, a lot will depend on other symbology that's there. But the third attitude, and remember, these are attitudes that you have for your life, which basically means habits. These are the habits. What we see here, this is the Queen of Cups. Now she sits and look at this. This is a cup down here, and look how different the cup looks compared to the cup that she's looking at. See, what she does is she's the dreamer. She takes whatever and she makes it bigger. Now it could be bigger that it's successful, or it's bigger that it's not going to succeed, or whatever. But the key is she's not really aware, and therefore is not going to be moving. So each of these three attitudes, where we've got a king, a queen, and a knight, are basically procrastinators, especially if there's other symbolism around showing that. Now, in the lower arcana, there's two that I find quite often fit into the procrastinational mood. One is the Seven of Cups, which is the dreamer, the same as the Queen. And so it sees all these glorious things that it could be or could happen or whatever. And again, we get into the what ifs. What if this? Oh, that looks, yes, I can do this, but no action necessarily. A lot of it is tied into the black cloak that he's wearing as well. So he tends to be a little bit depressive, maybe very depressive. So he's got all these dreams, and that fits into the Queen. Very often these two symbols come together. Then you know a person doesn't deal with the realities, but how they perceive things, how they want things. Also, I decided to put in this Eight of Swords for the simple reason it shows the Castle of Dreams behind. But they're not looking at that. They're tied to a situation. And consequently, their life to them is just a few muddy puddles down here. What does it take to get out of these bindings is movement, action. And that's the thing that you'll see here with procrastination, no action. Things cannot change, cannot move unless they have action. So these are two conditions that you could have. These are the attitudes or your habits. But then we have the good old emperor. Always everything, if you're looking at a pattern, will go into the higher arcana. The emperor is the fourth symbol in the higher arcana journey. And it's after really where everything is blossoming and wonderful, and then everything sticks down. The emperor comes, if you look, he's older. I always think he's sitting in that throne. Now, when you get older, young people don't realize this, but you need your arms to get up. You can't have your hands full. You can't get up out of a chair easily now, some people are spry, but I'm not. So I really relate to this. You can't get up. So here he is, basically on his term as the god is Mars, the god of war. But where is it? He's sitting. He doesn't want to do battles. He's done enough. He's tired. He doesn't want to move. Yes, he has experience. I gave this card the key of experience. He has experience, but he doesn't have movement. He doesn't have the direction that he's going in. He doesn't have the sense of where he's heading and where he's going. So it's like everything is stuck. And again, that censorship of like, oh, it's not good, or I can't, or it won't. And consequently, they just go on. So, okay, those are the 3, 4, 5, 6 symbols I put up. There are some other ones that will also, what's the word I'm looking for? Infiltrate or certainly make a difference if they're also in a reading per se. But I think one needs to understand. Now I'm going to come back to me. There we go. I really think we need to understand how procrastination works in our lives. Most people at some point or other have experienced the fear, because it is fear-based, of the direction that they're going in. Are there absolutes in this world? It's hard to say. When we want to have an absolute, when we want to have things be exactly as we want them to be, the point is, it usually is not that way. We go step by step. Now, we go back to goal setting. What is goal setting all about? Is knowing the end result that we want. When we want an end result, we go step by step to get it. And sometimes we have to shift the goalposts a little bit. Sometimes we have to assimilate changes and things. But if you're caught up in the thinking process of the what ifs, what maybes, and perhapses, you usually don't move, because your mind is more on what could happen, not what you want to have happen. And you're the director, you're the driver of your life. And if you have a habit of procrastinating, now some people procrastinate in one area of their lives and not necessarily another area of their lives. So it's really about taking a look at what you want. Where do you want to go? How do you want it to achieve? What do you want to create? Where do you want to be? All of these things become very, very important in the amount of achieving. Because what procrastination does is gives into the fear of the what ifs, maybes, and the perhapses, and not in the sense of the direction of where you really want to achieve and go. I mean, I'm certainly have had periods of time in my life where I've been very nervous or fearful about, oh, what if I do this or what if I do that? So I understand it's not like I'm just talking out of theoretical knowledge. It's because I've experienced it. I've experienced when I've had opportunities presented to me, but I had to make a step. And often when you are wanting to move ahead, there's a step that you need to make. And I've a couple of times in my life, my fear of making that step, I didn't do it. And I often, when I look back, it's not with regret because what happened, but it's like, I wonder if I'd been a little more gutsy and gone out and been able to do those steps that I didn't do. What would have happened? What would have my life been? Who knows? It's not, so it hasn't. But very often we will tend to do that. We will think, if you're a little bit insecure, which I was, I came from a very insecure base. And that's why I know how important inner work is. And slowly get to the place. And I didn't like confrontation. I didn't like asking for things. I didn't like asking questions. And all these things compounded in a certain period of time in my life where I had opportunity, but I procrastinated because I was fearful of the result. What if I didn't get the result? What if they thought bad of me? All these little crazy thoughts that went around in my head. This is the King of Wands, sorry. This is totally the King of Wands combined with the Queen of Cups, because the mind always makes things bigger and better or worse, whichever way you're looking at it, than what is actually there. So it becomes very important to recognize where and how come you procrastinate from creating and getting what exactly that you're wanting. You would not think of doing something if it was not available to you. That's the one thing I learned. If you want to do something and you can think about it, the steps will be presented to you to be able to go ahead. And then we begin to procrastinate. We get like the Eight of Swords, where we feel like nothing I'm going to do is going to work. But it says what you want is right there, right behind you. It's just a matter of making the steps, going one step after the other, knowing that you can get up and look at what's real. What is really needed. It's not about, oh, if I do this, it'll be that. If I do the other, it'll be that. If you don't do it, you'll never know. You'll never know which way or however it will all work. I want you to know that if you are a big or a good procrastinator, we'll say, it can be changed. It's definitely not something that has to be forever and ever. If you are just like I was, a sometime procrastinator because it seemed too big for me to do, you just work at it until you realize, oh, I can do this. I can ask the question. I can go forward, even if your knees are knocking, even if you're not sure of what the answer doesn't matter. What matters is that you gave it, as what the old saying is, give it a go, that you put yourself out there. And as time goes by, you learn more and more about what and how to do it, how to do different things. Other things are presented to you. And as you do them, it builds up a sense of confidence and direction. The unfortunate thing with, and I want to just address the Emperor and that vibration. We all get experience. We all get, hopefully we all live older. And the thing is, when we look back, we might go, oh my goodness, look what we did or we didn't do. And this is where self-forgiveness comes in, which is a whole different topic. But it's like allowing that all those things where you did procrastinate and that you felt and maybe beat yourself up inside because you didn't take the opportunity, is that it's all part of who you are now. There is only now. And as there is only now, you can make a decision. You can make a decision to be braver. You can make a decision to do the steps that you need to do in the direction that you go for, all of these things. And I just wish for each one of you that you know that you cannot think it here if you cannot do it. If it's beyond your capability, you will not have the thought. Now, it may take many steps to get where you conceive, but it is doable. You would not ever be given an idea. Excuse my voice this morning. I know I got up late, but really, this is a little ridiculous for me. And I usually have 2 or 3 moments when my throat adjusts, because it's like a channeling in a way that I do. And it's like, just kind of clearing the voice patterns, but still it annoys me. And feelings, emotions are regret, and it will disappear for sure. I'm just telling it, move out of the way. Now, so we go back to that, because I really want to reinforce this. If you have an idea of something that you want to do, it is doable. What you may not like is what you have to do to get there, but it's step by step by step. Most of us achieve things by going one step at a time. A lot of people, what often procrastinate also is because they take all the things they have to do and go, oh my God, how will I ever get through this? And that's kind of like it is. But it's like, go one step. And that's all you have to know. I always say, know the end result, know one step. Just keep your end result in mind and go one step at a time. So because I seem to be absolutely not wanting to talk, I'm going to wish you well. I'm going to say, please look at where you do procrastinate. And I'm going to have to go and figure out why my voice is totally disappearing here on me. So you have a good week. I will be back Sunday and again next Monday. Thank you for watching. I appreciate all of this. Bye for now.